The crystal towers of Zephyria sang their death song across the galaxy. High above the planet's purple skies, the massive communication arrays hummed with desperate energy. Each pulse carried the same message to every corner of known space. We are dying. Please help us. Kethva pressed her translucent hand against the control panel. Her body glowed with soft blue light, but the glow was getting weaker each day. The Void Hunters had been feeding on their world for 3 months now. Every day, more of her people simply faded away as their life energy was drained. "Any responses?" asked Morty from across the communication chamber. His crystalline form was cracked in several places. The stress of watching their world die was breaking them all, literally. 17 so far, Kethva replied. Her voice made a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. All the same answer. She played back the latest message from the Confederation of Stellar Republics. The hologram showed a tall, gray-skinned alien with 4 arms. His words were polite but final. "We deeply regret that we cannot provide military assistance against the Void Hunters. Our strategic analysis shows a 99.7% probability of total fleet destruction. We recommend immediate evacuation of your population." Mortai's light dimmed further. Evacuation to where? The Hunters don't just destroy worlds. They follow survivors. They track life energy across space itself. Outside their tower, the sky suddenly darkened. Through the transparent walls, they could see one of the Hunter ships descending toward the city. It looked like a massive black whale crossed with a spider, its biomechanical body pulsing with veins of red energy. Tentacles as thick as buildings reached down to touch the crystal spires below. The building shook as the creature began to feed. Somewhere in the city, Zephyrians were collapsing as their life force was sucked away. Kethva had seen it happen to her own brother just yesterday. One moment he was there, glowing with health. The next moment, he was just empty crystal, crumbling to dust. "The Galactic Council meeting starts in 1 hour, Morty said, checking his readings. "Maybe they will decide to help us." Kethva didn't have much hope. The Galactic Council was made up of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. They had faced the Void Hunters before, thousands of years ago. They had been fighting them ever since. And they were losing. The Hunters were not like other enemies. They didn't want territory or resources. They wanted life itself. Every world they consumed made them stronger. Every civilization they destroyed added to their knowledge. They adapted to every weapon, learned from every battle tactic, and grew more dangerous with each victory. Her communication panel lit up with another incoming message. This one was from the hegemony of the Golden Suns, one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Their leader appeared on the screen, a being of pure energy contained in a mechanical suit. "People of Zephyria," the energy being said, "we have consulted our war computers and our greatest military minds. The conclusion is unanimous. The Void Hunters cannot be stopped by conventional means. We have lost 12 worlds to them in the past century. Each battle only teaches them new ways to destroy us. We advise you to make peace with your fate and spend your remaining time in meditation." Kethva turned off the message in anger. Make peace with their fate? Easy words from someone who lived in safety, far from the feeding tentacles of the Hunters. She looked at her readings again. The automated distress signal was still broadcasting to every known civilization. Most weren't even bothering to reply anymore. The Arcturian Empire had sent a message saying they were monitoring the situation. The Silicon Lords had replied, with mathematical equations showing why helping Zephyria would be statistically inadvisable. "Wait," Mortai said, looking at his own panel. "I'm getting some strange readings. The signal is reaching further than we thought." "How much further?" "All the way to the Outer Rim. There are civilizations out there we've never heard of. Some of them are very primitive, but they're receiving our message." Kethva felt a tiny spark of hope. "Any responses from the Outer Rim?" Not yet. Most of them probably don't have translation technology advanced enough to understand us. But he paused, studying his readings more carefully. There's one system that's trying to respond. The signal is very weak, very primitive. It's coming from a small blue planet around a yellow star. Can you boost the signal? Clean it up? Morty worked at his controls for several minutes. Finally, a crackling voice came through the speakers. It spoke in a harsh, aggressive language that their translators had never encountered before. Receiving your distress call. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We don't know who you are, but if someone is trying to wipe out your entire species, we have a problem with that. Stand by for further communication. Kethva and Morty looked at each other in surprise. Earth? They had never heard of such a place. Their star charts showed that region of space as unexplored and probably uninhabited. Run a deep scan of that system, Kethva ordered. The results were puzzling. The planet called Earth was indeed inhabited, but by a species that barely qualified as spacefaring. They had primitive chemical rockets and basic satellites. Their weapons technology was crude. They hadn't even left their own solar system yet. This makes no sense, Morty said. Why would a primitive species offer to help against the Void Hunters? They must not understand what they're facing. Outside, another hunter ship descended from orbit. This one was even larger than the first. Its feeding tentacles spread across half the city, draining entire districts at once. The crystal towers began to dim as the life force of their inhabitants was consumed. Kethva felt her own energy starting to fade. They had perhaps days left before the planet was completely drained. The Galactic Council meeting had ended with the expected result. No help was coming. The great civilizations of the galaxy had written off Zephyria as already dead. But this primitive species called humans was still trying to reach them. Their signals were getting stronger, more organized. They were asking questions about the Void Hunters, about Zephyrian biology, about the planet's defenses. They want to know how many enemies we're facing, Morty reported. They're asking for tactical information. Tell them, Kethva decided. Tell them everything. What do we have to lose? As she began transmitting detailed information about the Void Hunters to the distant blue planet, she wondered what kind of species would even consider fighting such an enemy. The greatest military powers in the galaxy had given up. Ancient civilizations, with weapons that could destroy stars, had declared the battle hopeless. What could these primitive humans possibly do that the rest of the galaxy could not? She was about to find out that sometimes the most dangerous predators don't come from the most advanced civilizations. Sometimes they come from small blue planets on the edge of nowhere, where life is a constant struggle and survival means being willing to do whatever it takes to protect your own. The message from Earth was simple and direct. We're coming. Hold on. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the command center of Luna Base, staring at the translated message from Zephyria. Around her, dozens of technicians and military officers worked frantically to understand what they were dealing with. The aliens' distress call had been playing on repeat for 6 hours now, and the more they learned, the worse it got. Tell me again about these Void Hunters, Admiral Harrison said, walking up behind her. He was a tall man, with gray hair and scars from the resource wars. Sarah had served under him for 8 years, and she had never seen him look this grim. According to the Zephyrians, they're biomechanical creatures that feed on life energy, Sarah explained, pointing to the holographic display. They've been destroying civilizations for thousands of years. Every major alien government we've detected has either been destroyed by them or is too scared to fight them. And this Galactic Council just gave up completely. They've written off the entire Zephyrian system. Apparently, these hunters adapt to every weapon, learn from every battle, and get stronger with each victory. Admiral Harrison studied the tactical data the Zephyrians had sent. Ship sizes, weapons capabilities, feeding patterns. It was like reading about monsters from a nightmare. Our best xenobiologists are saying this is impossible, he said. Creatures this large, this advanced, this aggressive, they shouldn't be able to exist. Sarah smiled grimly. That's what the rabbits probably thought about wolves, sir. The Admiral raised an eyebrow. Explain. Earth is a death world, Admiral. We're the only species we know of that evolved as persistence hunters. We chase our prey until it collapses from exhaustion. We've been fighting for survival for millions of years. Every other species we've encountered through these alien signals seems to come from peaceful garden worlds where the biggest predator is maybe equivalent to our house cats. Dr. Elena Vasquez approached from the biology section. She was Earth's leading expert in hostile environment survival and biological warfare. Captain Chen is right, Admiral. I've been analyzing the data from 17 different alien civilizations. None of them show signs of having evolved under high-pressure survival conditions. They're all soft. Soft how? They think in terms of honor, logic, and strategic retreat. When faced with an overwhelming enemy, their instinct is to find a diplomatic solution or evacuate. Our instinct is to find the enemy's weakness and rip its throat out. Admiral Harrison looked around the command center. Through the observation windows, he could see the orbital shipyards where humanity's first true warships were being built. They were ugly, brutal things designed for one purpose: killing in the vacuum of space. The UN Security Council is meeting in 2 hours, he said. They're going to want to know why we should risk human lives for aliens we've never met. Because if we don't stop these hunters at Zephyria, they'll keep spreading, Sarah replied. And eventually they'll reach Earth. That could take thousands of years. Or it could take 50. We don't know how fast they move or how they choose their targets. What we do know is that they've destroyed every civilization that tried to fight them conventionally. Dr. Vasquez pulled up another display. Admiral, I've been studying their biology. These void hunters are essentially living weapons, but they still follow biological rules. They can be poisoned, infected, and overwhelmed. They adapt to threats, but adaptation takes time. If we hit them with something they've never seen before, something from a world they've never encountered, we might actually hurt them, Admiral Harrison finished. Commander Jake Morrison joined the group. He was built like a tank and had led special operations teams in every major conflict of the past decade. His specialty was what the military politely called hostile environment insertion, dropping into places where everything was trying to kill you and completing the mission anyway. Admiral, I've been reviewing the tactical data, Jake said. These hunters have never faced boarding actions. Every other species fights them ship to ship at a distance. They've never had enemy soldiers actually inside their vessels, tearing them apart from within. You want to board one of those things? I want to board all of them, sir. My team specialize in close-quarters combat in hostile environments. We've fought in radioactive ruins, underwater cities, and orbital stations with no atmosphere. These bioships might be big and scary, but they're still just targets. Admiral Harrison was quiet for a long moment. Then he activated his communication. Panel, get me the president, he said, and tell the Security Council meeting to start early. We need to discuss Operation Death World. 3 hours later, Sarah was back in the command center, but now it was bustling with activity. The UN had given approval for a limited engagement. More importantly, they had authorized the use of Earth's most dangerous weapons and tactics. Corporate. Mining fleets are volunteering, reported Lieutenant Williams. Apparently, asteroid miners think fighting alien monsters sounds more interesting than their regular jobs. Any word from the private military companies? All of them. They're calling it the biggest contract opportunity in human history. The chance to field test weapons against an enemy that's never seen human technology? Sarah nodded. Humans had turned warfare into both an art and a science. While other species fought with honor and followed rules of engagement, humans had spent centuries perfecting the art of killing efficiently and without mercy. Dr. Vasquez approached with a tablet full of data. Captain, I've been working on biological countermeasures. If these hunters feed on life energy, I might be able to create viruses that make that energy toxic to them. Earth diseases that have evolved alongside us for millions of years. That's biological warfare, Doctor. Against an enemy that's trying to consume all life in the galaxy? I'd say that's appropriate response. Admiral Harrison's voice came over the intercom. All senior staff to the briefing room. We've got incoming communications from multiple alien governments. In the briefing room, the main screen showed a collection of alien faces. Representatives from various galactic civilizations were trying to contact Earth simultaneously. They're telling us to stay away from Zephyria, the communications officer reported. The Galactic Council has declared the system a quarantine zone. They're saying that any species that enters will be considered contaminated and destroyed. Sarah felt a cold anger building in her chest. They're not trying to protect us. They're trying to protect themselves. From what? From having to help. If we go to Zephyria and get destroyed, they can say they warned us. If we somehow succeed, they can claim it was just luck. Either way, they don't have to risk their own precious civilizations. Admiral Harrison looked at the alien faces on the screen. Are any of them offering to help? No, sir. In fact, several are suggesting that Earth submit to protective custody to prevent us from doing anything rash. Commander Morrison laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Protective custody? They want to lock us up to keep us from fighting their boogeyman. Sarah studied the tactical display showing the route to Zephyria. It would take their fastest ships 3 weeks to reach the system. By then, the planet might be completely consumed. But the Zephyrians were still fighting, still broadcasting their plea for help. Admiral, she said, I request permission to take the advance fleet to Zephyria immediately. The alien governments will consider it an act of war. Let them. If they want to fight us instead of the Void Hunters, that tells us everything we need to know about what kind of allies they would be. Admiral Harrison smiled. It was the expression of a predator who had just spotted prey. Permission granted, Captain. Show the galaxy what Earth's apex predators can do. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Zephyrian system, and Captain Sarah Chen immediately understood why the galaxy's greatest civilizations had given up hope. The scene before them was like something from humanity's worst nightmares made real. Massive bioships the size of cities floated in orbit around the dying planet. Their dark, organic hulls pulsed with veins of red energy that stretched down to the surface like feeding tubes. Smaller hunter-killer ships moved between them like sharks circling wounded prey. Each one was easily the size of Earth's largest. Battleships, but they moved with fluid grace that no human-built vessel could match. Jesus Christ, whispered Lieutenant Williams from the sensor station. How many of them are there? I count 47 major bioships and over 300 smaller vessels, reported the tactical officer. Each major ship appears to be actively feeding on the planet's surface. Sarah watched the horrific display through the main viewer. She could see the crystal cities of Zephyria going dark one by one as their inhabitants were drained of life. It was like watching a slow-motion genocide. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the planet, the communications officer announced. It's very weak. The image of HFY appeared on screen. The Zephyrian's crystalline body was barely glowing now, her light so dim it was hard to see her features. Human ships, she said, her voice like a whisper of wind through broken glass. You came. We did not think anyone would come. We're here, Sarah replied. How much time do you have? Hours, perhaps. Most of our people are already gone. The hunters, they are not like anything you have faced. They learn from every attack. They adapt to every weapon. Thousands of civilizations have tried to stop them. All have failed. Commander Morrison stepped forward. Ma'am, with respect, those civilizations weren't human. How do these things fight? HFY's image flickered as power failed somewhere in her transmission station. They do not fight as you might understand it. They simply consume. Their ships are alive. thinking creatures that can change and evolve during battle. They have weapons that drain life force, armor that adapts to any energy signature, and they coordinate through a collective consciousness that spans their entire fleet. Any weaknesses? None that we have found. The Galactic Council's greatest military minds have studied them for thousands of years. Every battle plan fails. Every weapon proves useless. They are perfect predators. Sarah looked at her crew. Every face showed the same expression, grim determination mixed with the kind of excitement that came before a dangerous hunt. Not perfect, she said, just experienced. They've been fighting Garden World civilizations that think war is a game with rules. They've never met anyone from a death world. Before Kethva could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the bridge. The Void Hunters had detected their presence. Multiple bioships moving to intercept, reported the tactical officer. They're accelerating faster than our models predicted. How fast? Impossible fast. They're pulling maneuvers that should tear their ships apart, but their biohulls are adapting to the stress in real time. Sarah activated the fleet communication system. All ships, this is Chen. Remember, we're not here to play by anyone else's rules. These things think they're the ultimate predators because they've never met any real competition. Let's show them what 7 million years of evolution on a death world produces. Morrison, prep your boarding teams. Already ready, Captain. We're going to rip them apart from the inside. The first hunter ship closed with Earth fleet at a speed that defied physics. It was a massive creature that looked like a cross between a squid and a spider, with feeding tentacles that writhed around weapon ports that glowed with biological energy. It's scanning us, reported the sensor operator. Some kind of bioelectric probe. It's trying to analyze our ship's weaknesses. Let it look, Sarah said. Fire everything. The human ships opened fire with weapons the Void Hunters had never encountered. Nuclear missiles, particle beams, kinetic penetrators, and chemical. Explosives all struck the bioship simultaneously. The creature's adaptive armor began changing to counter each weapon type, but there were too many different attacks happening at once. For the first time in thousands of years, a Void Hunter ship screamed. The sound came through space itself, a psychic wail of pain and confusion that every human in the fleet could feel in their bones. The bioship's hull was burning, its adaptive systems overwhelmed by the sheer variety of damage types. It's trying to retreat, Morrison observed. I thought you said these things never retreat. They don't, came Kethva's weak voice over the communication channel. In 10,000 battles, no one has ever hurt them enough to make them want to escape. Well, they haven't met humans before, Sarah replied. Morrison, take your team and board that thing before it gets away. With pleasure. The human boarding pods were crude, ugly things compared to the elegant shuttles used by other civilizations. They were essentially armored bullets designed to punch through hull plating and deliver soldiers directly into enemy ships. The Void Hunters had never seen anything like them because no other species was crazy enough to try boarding a living warship. Morrison's pods slammed into the wounded bioships, hull, and immediately began burning through with thermite charges. Within seconds, his team was inside the creature, moving through passages that pulsed like arteries and breathing recycled atmosphere that tasted of copper and decay. This is Morrison, his voice crackled over the radio. Inside the target. It's like being inside a giant animal. The walls are trying to heal around us, but our cutting tools are working faster than its repair systems. What's your objective? Find the brain, the heart, whatever makes this thing tick, and put a bomb on it. The other hunter ships were responding now, converging on the human fleet with movements that flowed like water. But their coordination was off. The screaming of their wounded companion had disrupted their collective consciousness, introducing an element they had never experienced before: fear. Dr. Vasquez's voice came through the communication system from the research ship. Captain, I'm reading massive biological stress indicators from all the hunter vessels. That scream wasn't just pain. It was a warning to the others that they were facing something new. Good. Let's give them more to scream about. The battle that followed was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. The Void Hunters fought with weapons that could drain the life force from entire crews, armor that adapted to counter any attack, and tactics perfected over millennia of conquest. But they had never faced an enemy that refused to follow the established rules of engagement. Human ships rammed biovessels at full speed, accepting their own destruction to damage the enemy. Boarding teams used chemical weapons, biological viruses, and even personal explosives to destroy hunter ships from within. When conventional tactics failed, human crews improvised new ones on the spot. "Morrison, report," Sarah called as her ship traded fire with a hunter vessel twice its size. "Found the brain," Morrison replied. His voice was strained, and she could hear weapon fire in the background. "It's like a massive tumor with teeth. We've planted charges throughout its nervous system. This thing is going to have the worst headache." In galactic history, the bioship Morrison's team had boarded suddenly convulsed. Its weapons stopped firing, its movement became erratic, and then it simply died. The massive creature went dark and began drifting, lifeless in space. Across the hunter fleet, something like panic began to spread. For the first time since their species had evolved, the Void Hunters were experiencing casualties they couldn't immediately regenerate. These human creatures fought like the hunters themselves, but with a viciousness and creativity that even the galaxy's ultimate predators found disturbing. "Captain," the communications officer announced, "we're receiving transmission from multiple alien governments. They're demanding we withdraw immediately." "On what grounds?" "They say our tactics are too dangerous, too unpredictable. They're calling us a threat to galactic stability." Sarah laughed as another hunter ship died under the combined fire of her fleet. "They're scared of us. They'd rather let the hunters destroy entire civilizations than risk humans becoming the dominant predators in the galaxy. Your orders? Tell them we're busy, and prep the next wave of boarding teams. These hunters are about to learn why Earth's apex predators conquered their entire planet before they even learned to fly." 3 days into the battle for Zephyria, something unprecedented happened in the collective consciousness of the Void Hunters. For the first time in their species' existence, they experienced something that their ancient memories had no reference for: the fear of being hunted. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her command ship, watching as her forces systematically dismantled the hunter fleet. Around her, the crew worked with the efficient brutality that had made humanity the apex predator of Earth. But now they were something more than human. "Report from Dr. Vasquez," announced Lieutenant Williams. "The biological integration project is ahead of schedule." Sarah looked down at her own hands. The skin was still recognizably human, but underneath, she could feel the biomechanical enhancements they had harvested from captured hunter technology. Stronger bones, faster reflexes, enhanced healing. They were becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. "How many of our people have been enhanced?" 60% of all boarding teams, 30% of ship crews. "The hunter biotechnology integrates with human physiology better than our scientists predicted. It's like our bodies were designed to accept alien improvements." Commander Morrison's voice crackled over the communication system from somewhere. Deep inside another hunter bioship. "Chen, you need to see this. We found something in their memory cores." "What kind of something?" "The coordinates of every world they've ever consumed. There are thousands of them, scattered across the galaxy. And they're all still connected to the hunter network." Sarah felt a cold anger building in her chest. "Connected how?" "They've been using the consumed worlds as resource nodes. Every planet they've drained still has hunter bioconstructs feeding on whatever life energy remains. They're not just destroying civilizations, they're turning them into permanent food sources." Dr. Vasquez appeared on a secondary screen from her research station. The biologist's appearance had changed dramatically over the past 3 days. Her eyes now had an inner glow, and her skin showed the subtle patterns of integrated hunter bioarmor. "Captain, this explains why they're so powerful," she said. "They're not just individual ships. They're nodes in a galaxy-spanning organism that's been growing for thousands of years. Every world they consume makes the entire network stronger. Can we disconnect them? Better than that. I've been studying their biological communication system. If we can inject the right kind of virus into their network, we can turn their greatest strength into a weakness. Explain. The hunters share everything through their collective consciousness. Memories, experiences, adaptations. But they've never had to deal with misinformation or psychological warfare. If we can introduce corrupted data into their network, we can drive them insane, Sarah finished. Exactly. I've been working with human military psychologists to develop what we're calling cognitive viruses. Information patterns designed to cause psychological breakdown in networked intelligence systems. On the tactical display, the remaining hunter. Ships were regrouping for another assault. But their formation was different now. Less coordinated, more desperate. The loss of so many vessels had damaged their collective consciousness in ways they didn't understand. "Morrison, status report," Sarah called. "Fourth bioship neutralized. My teams are getting better at this. We figured out that the hunters have a psychological weakness. They've never dealt with enemies that can out-adapt them. When we do something they can't immediately counter, they panic." Such as? Watch this. On the main screen, Sarah could see Morrison's boarding shuttle approaching. Another hunter vessel. But instead of using the standard penetration technique, his team was doing something that defied all military logic. They were knocking on the hull. "Morrison, what the hell are you doing?" "Psychological warfare, Captain. These things have been the galaxy's ultimate predators for so long that they've forgotten how to deal with being prey. We're treating them like prey animals, and their instincts are starting to break down." The hunter ship Morrison was approaching began to retreat, its bio-hull rippling with what could only be described as nervousness. The gesture of knocking had confused its threat assessment systems. Should it attack, flee, try to communicate? The simple human action had introduced uncertainty into a mind that had known only dominance for millennia. "All ships," Sarah announced over the fleet communication system, "prepare for Operation Apex. Dr. Vasquez, upload your cognitive viruses to all boarding teams. Morrison, coordinate with the research division. We're going to show these hunters what it feels like to be at the bottom of the food chain." The next phase of the battle was unlike anything in the recorded history of galactic warfare. Human teams didn't just board hunter ships, they psychologically tortured them. They used sound, light, and chemical signals to trigger panic responses. In the biovessels, they planted false memories in the ship's organic computers. They even used human laughter as a weapon, broadcasting recordings of humans enjoying themselves while killing hunter vessels. The effect on the hunter collective consciousness was devastating. For the first time in their existence, they began to doubt their own superiority. Worse, they began to fear that there might be other species like humans scattered throughout the galaxy. "Captain," reported the sensor operator, "we're detecting massive energy spikes from the hunter command vessel. It's trying to establish communication with something beyond this system." "They're calling for help?" "No, ma'am. They're trying to warn the rest of their species about us." Sarah smiled. It was an expression that would have terrified any alien observer. "All ships, target the command vessel. We're not letting word of humanity spread until we're ready." But it was too late. The hunter command ship's message had already propagated through the bio-network that connected their species across the galaxy. The message was simple but profound. There was a new apex predator in the universe, and it was more dangerous than the hunters themselves. Dr. Vasquez's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, I'm receiving responses to the hunter distress call. Multiple alien governments are demanding immediate communication with Earth. Put them through." The main screen filled with alien faces, representing dozens of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. Their expressions ranged from fear to anger, to something that might have been respect. The spokesperson was a tall, elegant being from the Galactic Council. "Humans of Earth," she said. You have violated numerous interstellar treaties and engaged in warfare techniques that the civilized galaxy considers barbaric. And, Sarah replied, we demand that you cease your assault on the Void Hunters immediately and submit to Council oversight. Or what? The alien's composure slipped slightly. Or the combined fleets of 17 civilizations will be forced to intervene. Sarah looked around her bridge. Her crew was no longer entirely human. They were something new, something that combined the best aspects of human aggression with alien biotechnology. They were apex predators that had evolved beyond their original form. Let me explain something to you, Sarah said, her voice carrying the quiet menace of a true predator. We've been fighting the hunters for 3 days. In that time, we've destroyed more of their ships than your combined civilizations have managed. In thousands of years. We've captured their technology, learned their weaknesses, and turned their own weapons against them. That's exactly why you're dangerous, another alien interjected. You don't fight with honor. You don't follow the established rules of warfare. You're as much a threat to galactic stability as the hunters themselves. Commander Morrison's laughter echoed through the communication channel from his position inside yet another captured hunter vessel. Did this guy just compare us to the monsters that have been eating entire civilizations? I think he did, Sarah replied. And you know what? He's right. We are dangerous. We're the most dangerous thing this galaxy has ever produced. The difference is we only hunt predators. She leaned forward, and the alien delegates could see the subtle biomechanical enhancements that now covered parts of her face and hands. Here's what's going to happen, she continued. We're going to finish destroying the hunters in this system. Then we're going to track down every other hunter fleet in the galaxy and destroy them too. And if any of your civilizations try to stop us, you'll discover just how much more dangerous we can become. The alien spokesperson tried to maintain her authority. The Galactic Council will not permit. The Galactic Council has been useless against the hunters for thousands of years, Sarah interrupted. You've let them consume entire civilizations while you hid behind your borders and made excuses. Well, the humans are here now and we don't make excuses. We solve problems. The transmission ended as the aliens cut communication, but Sarah wasn't concerned. She had seen the fear in their eyes. They were beginning to understand that humanity wasn't just another member species that would follow galactic law and custom. Humanity was the new apex predator, and they were about to reshape the galaxy according to their own rules. The last Void Hunter ship died screaming. Captain Sarah Chen watched from the bridge of her command vessel as the massive bio-ship that had once been the Hunter Queen convulsed in its death throes. Commander Morrison and his enhanced boarding teams had spent 18 hours inside the creature, systematically destroying its nervous system with a combination of human explosives and captured hunter bioweapons. The ship's death cry echoed through space itself, a psychic wail that could be felt by every enhanced human in the fleet, but instead of pain, they felt satisfaction. The hunt was complete. Final tally, reported Lieutenant Williams, his voice carrying the subtle electronic undertones that marked him as one of the enhanced. 47 major hunter vessels destroyed, 312 smaller ships eliminated. 0 hunter survivors detected in this system. Sarah nodded, but her attention was focused on the communications panel. Reports were streaming in from across the galaxy as human hunter-killer fleets tracked down and eliminated hunter nodes on dozens of worlds. What had started as a rescue mission for Zephyria had become a galaxy-wide extermination campaign. Dr. Vasquez, status on the bio-network integration? The doctor appeared on screen, though calling her a doctor was becoming increasingly inaccurate. The biomechanical enhancements had changed her so dramatically that she was barely recognizable as the woman who had left Earth 6 months ago. Her eyes glowed with inner light, her skin showed intricate patterns of living armor, and her movements had the fluid grace of a predator. The Hunter Bio Network is completely under our control, she reported. We've used their own communication system to locate every remaining hunter facility in the galaxy. More importantly, we've learned to interface directly with their technology. We're not just using their weapons anymore. We're improving them. Any word from the other human fleets? All reporting success. The hunter stronghold in the Vega system was eliminated yesterday. The breeding worlds in the Centauri cluster fell 3 days ago. We estimate that 97% of all hunter biomass has been destroyed or converted to human use. Sarah turned to look at the planet Zephyria through the main viewer. The crystal cities were beginning to glow again as the surviving Zephyrians emerged from their shelters, but their saviors were no longer the primitive humans, who had first answered their distress call. "Incoming transmission from the surface," announced the communications officer. HFY appeared on screen, her crystalline form now bright with renewed life energy. But her expression was complicated. Gratitude mixed with something that might have been fear. "Captain Chen," she said, "we cannot thank you enough for what you have done. Our people live because of your sacrifice." "No sacrifice," Sarah replied. "We gained more than we lost. That is what concerns us. The humans who came to help us are not the same as the humans we see now. You have changed, evolved. You have become something that perhaps even the Void Hunters would have feared." "Is that a problem?" HFY hesitated. "We do not know. You saved us from one apex predator by becoming an even more dangerous apex predator. What happens now?" Before Sarah could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. The tactical display lit up with new contacts. A massive fleet of alien vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. 17 different civilizations, reported the sensor operator. Combined fleet strength approximately 12,000 vessels. They're moving to surround us. "The Galactic Council's response," Sarah said calmly. "They've decided we're too dangerous to be allowed to exist." Commander Morrison's voice came over the intercom from the captured Hunter bioship he was now using as his personal vessel. "Captain, my enhanced teams are detecting massive energy buildups across their fleet. They're preparing to open fire. Standard first contact protocol for apex predators meeting territorial competition," Dr. Vasquez observed. "They're going to try to eliminate us before we can spread further." Sarah activated the fleet communication system. "All ships, this is Chen. It appears the galaxy's established civilizations have decided that humans are more dangerous than the hunters ever were. They may be right." She paused, looking around at her crew. They were still recognizably human, but they were also something more. Enhanced by biotechnology, hardened by combat, and united by the shared experience of becoming the galaxy's ultimate predators. "They want to destroy us because they're afraid of what we represent," she continued. "We don't follow their rules. We don't accept their limitations. We don't bow to their authority. We solve problems by eliminating them completely." The alien fleet was moving into attack formation, their weapons charging for what they clearly intended to be a decisive first strike. Thousands of ships against the few hundred vessels of the human fleet. By any reasonable calculation, the humans were hopelessly outnumbered. But Sarah was no longer interested in reasonable calculations. "All ships, prepare for Operation Galactic Apex. Dr. Vasquez, activate all captured Hunter bio networks. Morrison, release your enhanced teams on any ship that wants to play with apex predators." The battle that followed was not a war in any traditional sense. It was a demonstration of what happened when a species that had spent millions of years perfecting the art of survival encountered opponents who had grown soft from too many millennia of peace and prosperity. Human ships, now enhanced with hunter biotechnology, moved through the alien fleet like wolves through a flock of sheep. Enhanced human teams boarded alien vessels and took control with ruthless efficiency. The bioviruses that Dr. Vasquez had developed specifically for hunter physiology proved remarkably effective against other alien species as well. Within 6 hours, the combined fleet of 17 civilizations had been reduced to scattered survivors, fleeing toward their home systems. But Sarah wasn't interested in letting them escape. "All pursuit teams, track every survivor," she ordered. "We want the locations of their home worlds, their industrial centers, their military installations. Everything." "Captain," Morrison reported, "we've captured the council leadership. What are your orders?" "Bring them aboard. It's time for a conversation about the new galactic order." The council representatives were brought to the main conference room under a heavy guard. They were a collection of the galaxy's most powerful beings, but in the presence of the enhanced humans, they looked exactly like what they were: prey animals trying to negotiate with apex predators. The council spokesperson, the same elegant alien who had demanded humanity's surrender, tried to maintain her dignity. "Captain Chen, what you have done here today is an act of war against the entire civilized galaxy." "No," Sarah replied, settling into her chair with the fluid grace of her enhancements. "What we did today was establish the new hierarchy. For thousands of years, your civilizations have ruled the galaxy through bureaucracy and committee decisions. You've been playing politics while real predators like the hunters consumed entire worlds. We maintained peace and stability. You maintained stagnation and weakness," Dr. Vasquez interrupted. "Your greatest military achievement was convincing yourselves that the hunters were unstoppable. It took humans 6 months to prove you wrong." Sarah leaned forward, and the aliens could see the biomechanical patterns that now covered much of her visible skin. "Here's how things work now. Humanity will take responsibility for galactic security. We'll hunt down and eliminate any species that threaten civilian populations. We'll establish and maintain order." "And what do you expect from us?" the spokesperson asked. "Compliance. You can continue to govern your own worlds as long as you don't interfere with human operations. You can maintain your trade networks, your cultural exchanges, your peaceful little diplomatic games. But when it comes to matters of galactic security, humans are in charge." "And if we refuse?" Sarah smiled. It was an expression that had become far more predatory over the past months. "Then you'll discover why the hunters were more afraid of us than we were of them." One of the other council members, a crystalline being similar to the Zephyrians, spoke up. "You're talking about imposing a military dictatorship on the entire galaxy. I'm talking about imposing competence on a galaxy that's been governed by incompetence for far too long," Sarah replied. "Your way of doing things led to billions of deaths and the near extinction of entire civilizations. Our way leads to the complete elimination of existential threats." Commander Morrison entered the conference room, his enhanced form towering over the seated aliens. "Captain, we've received surrender communications from 43 different star systems. Apparently, word of our victory here has spread faster than their surviving ships. Any resistance?" 3 systems are attempting to organize military responses. The Arcturus Defense League thinks they can stop us with their battle stations. Show them what happened to the hunters. If they still want to fight after that, accommodate them." Sarah turned back to the council representatives. "You have a choice to make. Accept human leadership in matters of galactic security, or be treated as another threat to be eliminated. We've proven we can destroy the hunters. We've proven we can defeat your combined fleets. What we haven't proven yet is whether we're capable of mercy." The spokesperson looked around at her fellow council members, seeing